The Super Saiyan lunge is my favorite way to work hip extension. The reason being, we can leverage a concept called irradiation to get more contraction through the glutes to actually increase the stretch on the hip flexor and quad and the target muscles in the back leg. So to do this, all you need is some kind of a movable object. I like using a pole. I find this works incredibly well. And then you might want to use something like a yoga block at different heights, of course, depending on what your mobility is like. So if you're a little bit tighter through the hip, you might need a couple, or if you have trouble bending your toe, you might need a couple as well. But start with one and then do less or more depending on how you go. So from here, I'm going to have my back knee on the yoga block, and the front leg is going to be close to this pole. So reason being, so I can get close to this pole. You don't want to be so far away that it's a stretch, because out here it'll be hard to put tension through this object. But in close here, I can get a firm grip, and now I can really push into the pole as much as I like. Second thing is, I'm just going to make sure that foot is well in front of the knee. That's going to help encourage deeper hip flexion of the front leg, which in turn will encourage deeper hip extension in the back leg, which is the one we're working. So nice and close. From there, we've got our balls of the feet for the back leg, and the posture is upright. Another reason why I like this pole, because if I start leaning forward, I know about it because this thing is now closer to my face. So posture upright. From here, I'm going to think about tucking the glutes. It doesn't have to be overly crazy, but I'm definitely engaging in a posterior pelvic tilt to help get into a little bit more hip extension straight from the get-go. And if you're tight like me, just by doing this, with this position, you'll feel it. Now, before we go into the actual technique, the last cue I have to mention is, look at the back knee. It's well behind the line of the hip, and that's important because that is what hip extension is. So if you're starting here, this isn't going to have much value because I'm not in hip extension. The knee is underneath the hip. So make sure that you're already here in this long lunge position. Now, we're going to use this pole to create tension through the upper body, and then use that tension in the upper body to help contract this back glute to push the heel back and get essentially more hip extension in this front left hip. That's the goal. So what it looks like is this. I'm going to keep my shoulders relaxed, and then I'm going to press into this pole. I'm going to dial that tension up until it's a maximal contraction. Then I'm going to use the glute in the back leg to squeeze, to kick the heel back behind me for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Resting before going again. Start to drive tension into the pole, squeezing the back glute to lift the knee, and then I'd go for another 5-second contraction. Now notice here, I haven't stood up. I'm staying low. What I mean by that is I haven't done this. Because if I stand up, I'm not forcing hip extension. By keeping my body at the same height, the only place this leg can move from is to go further back and create greater hip extension, as opposed to up here, it doesn't have to work as hard. So the real big cue is, after you've put tension through the pole, after you're squeezing your glutes, do everything in your power to keep your body height in relation to where this is or any other object the exact same. So tension through the pole, glutes come on, and you can see the knee gently lifts off as I keep pulling back. Now, bonus is I can sink deeper into hip flexion in the front leg as I do that. Notice it's all very subtle. And resting. Now, I like to work kind of, this is open now. I like to work kind of, that 3 times 5 seconds is a great place to start. And then you can progressively overload that to 4 times 5 seconds, 5 times 5 seconds, so on and so forth. And then, you can go from 2 sets to 3 sets, 4 sets, so on and so forth. That's the kind of protocol I like to use. But either way, give this a go and notice that your hips will be super loose and open on your next, even when you get up after this and walk around. Try it.